And welcome again to the Study Bible Study, where we're going to study the Bible with Study Bibles. And let's open up with more of a teaching of peace, teaching of a sound mind. Let's ask ourselves and ponder this day, am I truly serving God, or am I enamored with the works of my own hands? Now today is the day for pondering all the little gods of my life, as we ponder all the little gods of our lives, and try to put a face on all of the idols which we have made our idols, knowingly or unknowingly. Now I mourn the truth that I have lost in the fields of trivia, and yet the one that I want to serve knows my heart's longing. Lord, help me to understand my heart as you do. Now, Psalm 139:23 is, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me, and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Now, 1 Corinthians 3:11 tells us, too, "For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Jesus Christ." Isaiah 26:3 tells us, "Now thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee." And John 14:27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." And John 16:33, "For these things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you should have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." And it ends off with a Romans 8:6. "For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." Let's start off with a daily devotional reading. This reading will be from 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. "Now, but the end of all is at hand. Be prudent, therefore, and watch in prayer. But before all things have a constant mutual charity among yourselves. For charity covereth a multitude of sins, using hospitality one towards another without murmuring. As every man hath received great ministering, the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. If any man speak, let him speak as the words of God. If any man minister, let him do it as the power which God administereth. That in these things God may be honored through Jesus Christ. To him, to whom is glory and empire forever and ever. Amen." That's 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 to 11. Now, see if we can actually find the devotional here. Now, Sarah Tokoski, a softball player from Western Oregon University, hit a home run in a game against Central Washington. But she nearly didn't get credit for it. As she rounded first base in excitement, she missed it. Wheeling around to step on first, she injured her knee. By rule, she had to touch all four bases for the home run to count. Now, her teammates could not assist her. Then Mallory Holtman, the first baseman for the opposing team, spoke up. "Would it be okay if we carried her around?" And after conferring, the umpire said yes. So Mallory and another teammate made a chair of their hands and carried Sarah around the bases. By the time they were through carrying her, many were crying at this selfless act of compassion, and Sarah was awarded her home run. Likewise, when fellow Christians stumble and fall, we can follow the example of these ball players and reach out and lift them up and carry them along. What an opportunity to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace. Just a little bit of devotion and encouragement, and let's look at our reading. We're looking at Psalm 55. Now, Psalm 55, the psalmist is betrayed by intimate friends, and he prays that God punish those oath breakers and thus be acknowledged as protector of the wronged. The sufferings of the psalmist include both ostracism in 55:4. At the uproar of the enemy, the clamor of the wicked, they heap trouble upon me, savagely accuse me. And the psalmist finds mental turmoil in 55:5-6. My heart pounds within me, and the death terrors fall upon me. Fear and trembling overwhelm me, shuddering sweeps over me. And culminating in the wish to flee society, so it's 55:7-9. If I had only had wings like a dove, that I might fly away and find peace and find rest. Far away would I flee, I would stay in the desert, I would soon find a shelter from the raging wind and the raging storm. From the raging wind and storm. Now this occurs in many psalms, the part where the psalmist will wish for sudden death to one's enemies. It's in 55:16. Now let death take them, let them go down alive to Sheol, for the evil is in their homes and bellies. Now this example of such a death, the earth opening up under the wicked, is an example from Dathan and Abiram in Numbers 16:31-32. Now the psalmist's confidence of vindication exhorts others to a like trust in God of justice. Now this psalm is not so much for personal vengeance as for public vindication of God's righteousness. Now, there was no belief in an afterlife where such vindication took place. The psalm is not so much for personal vengeance as for public vindication of God's righteousness now. People like when they get to see God's righteous judgment. So let's look at number 16. That would be Numbers 16, 31-32. Number 16. Just hop over there as quickly as we can. Now, number 16, this is 31 and 32. Let's see what we can find here. Now, this points us to the punishment of Dathan and Abiram. Okay, let's start at verse 30. Now, but if the Lord makes a chasm, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them with all belonging to them, and they go down alive to Sheol, then you will know that these men have spurned the Lord. No sooner had he finished saying all this than the ground beneath them split open. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their families and all of Korah's people with all their possessions. They went down alive to Sheol with all their belongings to them. Then the earth closed over them, and they disappeared from the assembly. But all the Israelites near them fled their shrieks, saying, the earth might swallow us too. Now, the implication of the secondary addition to this text, hang on a second. On one hand, Korah met his death elsewhere, presumably with 250 offering incense in the earlier verses, and on the other hand, he died along with Dathan and Abiram in the splitting of the earth. Just some footnotes thrown in there, but I do like how they put those two verses together. That was number 16, 30 to probably 32, and that they're pointing us to, that would be Psalm 55:16. Let death take them, let them go down alive to Sheol, for evil is in their homes and in their bellies. Let the ground be open up unto them, and swallow them down and close upon their heads. It's quite a powerful allusion there, or illustration to what the psalmist has in mind for his enemies. We're going to hop into Psalm 55. Psalm 55, I believe, is when King David is fleeing from... Is he fleeing from Absalom, or is he fleeing from another son who's going to take his power? I believe it was Absalom. Yeah. Psalm 55 is directly pointing to David fleeing from Absalom. So on our next one, we'll hop into another expository view of Psalm 55. Cast thy burdens upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He will never suffer the righteous to be moved. And John 14:27, my peace I leave with you, peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. John 16:33, for these things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world you should have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. And of course, Revelation 17:14 tells us, and these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall conquer them. For he is Lord of lords, he is King of kings, and they who are with him are called and chosen and faithful. God bless and amen. Over here at the Study Bible Study, where we study the Bible with study Bibles. Amen.